Welcome everyone, this is Eagle News. I am Jeff Sanidad in Washington. It's Saturday once again, May 13, 2023, here in the nation's capital. The week's recap begins with wildfires in Alberta driving thousands of residents from their homes to seek safety. The government says it will extend financial assistance to the victims who have suffered indescribable loss. Thomas Likeness reports.
Thousands of people have had to flee their homes as the flames got too close for comfort. The fires continue to threaten more than 20 communities in northern and central Alberta, and at one point, some 30,000 Albertans were forced to seek shelter elsewhere. For many, it's a financial burden. That's prompted Premier Danielle Smith to announce financial help for those who had to evacuate.
This is an incredibly stressful time, and we know Albertans need extra support while they are out of their homes and communities. And that's why we're announcing that additional help is on the way for wildfire evacuees.
Smith has also asked the federal government for help, and that could include assistance from the military. Alberta is Canada's major oil-producing province, and the fires have forced some energy companies to cut production as the fires encroach upon their operations. That has cut oil production in Alberta by about 2%. On Monday, firefighters got a bit of a break as badly needed rain fell and temperatures remained in the mid-teens Celsius. But unless a heavy rain persists for several days, the risk of more fires being sparked remains. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, Edmonton, Canada. We live in extraordinary times.
In other news, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Chief Dr. Rochelle Walensky is stepping down. Described as a director who launched widest-reaching reforms in decades to strengthen CDC operations and restore agency morale, Walensky says she had the true gift of meeting, working with, and giving voice to thousands of people at the agency who work 24/7. She says she has never been prouder of anything she has done in her professional career. Rochelle Ferrier tells us more.
Dr. Rochelle Walensky of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announces her departure as director of the health agency. In a statement, Walensky says the end of the COVID-19 public health emergency marks a tremendous transition for the country, for public health, and in her tenure as CDC director. CDC says Walensky helped restore morale and the sense of normalcy to an agency that had been enduring significant public adversity related to the COVID-19 pandemic. During Walensky's tenure, the agency addressed a multinational mpox outbreak, contained the spread of Ebola in Uganda, and responded to infectious disease threats in countries around the globe. Rochelle Ferrier, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Back in Canada, the city of Toronto in the province of Ontario faces a dire problem when it concerns those experiencing homelessness. In an effort to address the situation, the city is opening more doors to put roofs over those without homes and help get them back on their feet. Joshua Santoliana tells more.
Starting this month, more affordable homes are opening in Toronto for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey announced this week the opening of 84 new affordable and supportive homes at 222 Spadina Avenue. Residents will pay no more than 30% of their income towards rent. This new building will provide 24/7 on-site support services, which includes a food program, clinical supports, and life skills training. Nonprofit organization Homes First Society has been chosen to operate the said building. This project received initial funding and support from the federal government under the Rapid Housing Initiative. Toronto has received $440 million to create more than 1,000 new affordable homes for Toronto residents in need over the next 10 years. As of March 2023, there are over 10,000 people actively experiencing homelessness in the city of Toronto. In 2022, Toronto saw more than 3 homeless deaths per week. Joshua Santoliana, Toronto, Ontario. Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Meanwhile, on Mars, there is evidence suggesting that a river used to run through it. Images of coarse sediment and cobbles tend to say so. Philip Toledo reports.
Recent images from the Mars Perseverance rover show evidence that there was once likely a raging river on the red planet. As part of its mission to search for signs of ancient microbial life, Perseverance is also taking a closer look at the planet's geology and signs of its past climate. Over the past 2 years, Perseverance has been in the Jezero crater of Mars and has studied a network of waterways that once flowed there. It is currently exploring a fan-shaped pile of sedimentary rock that has curving layers that suggest flowing water. The recent photos show coarse sediment and cobbles, which scientists say are indicative of a high-energy river that moved a lot of debris. Other tall, curved layers are as high as 20 meters, which would be extreme compared to Earth rivers. However, the shapes found are normally formed by flowing water. This is the first time scientists have seen such evidence and are excited at the prospect of continued study. Philip Toledo, Atlanta, Georgia, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
It's time for this week's Learning Curve. The Department of Education releases a Dear Colleague letter appealing to colleges and universities in the country that receive Federal Work Study or FWS dollars. FWS provides part-time jobs for undergraduate and graduate students with financial need. The program encourages community services, work, and work related to the student course of study. Through the letter, the department is asking that colleges and universities use at least 15% of their FWS funds and other resources to employ, among others, tutors, mentors, and student success coaches for the benefit of those in kindergarten to 12th grade. The U.S. is facing significant impact to the pandemic on K-12 students' learning and mental health. These impacts also include wide and long-standing inequities and opportunity gaps for low-income students, students of color, English learners, and students with disabilities. At present, 26 colleges and universities have said yes to be early adopters of the effort. Through the initiative, the Department of Education hopes that more colleges and universities answer the call. It is also hoping that through the program, more college students of diverse backgrounds and income levels will be inspired to consider careers as educators. From education, let's pivot to health. In a historic bill signed by Governor Josh Shapiro, insurers in the state of Pennsylvania will now have to not charge patients when it comes to genetic testing for hereditary breast, ovarian, prostate, and other cancer syndromes. Here's Milo Simbulan on Health is Wealth.
Governor Josh Shapiro signs the first bill of his administration, Act 1 of 2023. This is a first-of-its-kind law in the nation. It requires insurers to cover preventive breast and ovarian cancer screenings for high-risk women at no cost. This landmark legislation was introduced by Senate President pro tempore Kim Ward. It passed both the House and the Senate unanimously. It removes out-of-pocket costs associated with genetic testing for hereditary breast, ovarian, prostate, and other cancer syndromes. It includes supplemental breast screenings for women with a high lifetime risk of breast cancer.
Democrats and Republicans came together to pass a landmark bill that is going to save lives here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so we stand here today, leaders from the House and the Senate, leaders from the executive branch, united to declare with one singular voice that Pennsylvania leaders stand with the good people of Pennsylvania and we take care of our people.
Act 1 ensures this critical health care will be accessible and affordable for more Pennsylvanians and save countless lives. Governor Josh Shapiro is joined by legislative leaders from both parties and breast cancer survivors and advocates from all across the Commonwealth for the signing of this historic legislation. Myla Simbulan, Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In recent years, the ladies' professional golf circuit has offered more money than ever before, with players capable of raking in millions of dollars in prize money. The growing popularity of golf, combined with the skill of its players, help contribute to the rising trend of increased earnings for the sport's top athletes. In Los Angeles, California, Eva Baziliay on EBC Sports International.
Net25 の皆さん、こんにちは。While the LPGA has made strides in recent history to increase prize money, the salaries of players on the ladies' tour still lag behind those of their PGA counterparts. Regardless, many remain optimistic that earnings in this sport have taken a step in the right direction.
There's so many good players out here. The talent is incredible and they keep getting better for every year. So I think we're just very appreciative and happy of the sponsors that continue to raise our purses. And it's wonderful because, I mean, all of us, we work so hard. So to be able to do this for a living, I'm just very thankful for it. And it continues to grow, and it's grown a lot in the last few years.
I think the women work just as hard as the men. We might not get recognized as much, but yeah, I think we work as hard. I mean, there's lots of good players out here, so it's nice to see that the purses are going up.
Trying to catch up with the PGAs, and I think we are heading into the right direction, and it's like a positive effects, and hopefully this continue to keep going that way.
選手としてはやっぱり賞金が上がるとすごく助かる面もあるので、やっぱりそれにプラスして頑張りたいという気持ちが増えるのですごくそれは嬉しいなと思います。
Yes, it's very thankful and it's very motivated for players to be able to challenge for bigger events. So very happy about that.
I think they need to watch more women's golf. I mean, we're all, you know, it's a lot of many talented players out here. So I think it's a good sign that we had more players, and then also we're not trying to beat PGA, but I think we're trying to support each other.
Female players, we work hard as much as the male players. So I think we're really happy about the double purse, and I think it's gonna push more sponsors to come and push more kids to play golf.
I'm glad to see our player getting more recognized and getting more support from everywhere. And hopefully all the tournament will be 3 million. That's what we should be, yeah.
It's worth noting that total prize money can vary from year to year, depending on factors like sponsorship interests, TV deals, and the number or size of tournaments. But so long as LPGA players continue to deliver competitive golfing action, then the future of tour winnings should remain promising. Eva Baziliay, Los Angeles, California, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Australia and Papua New Guinea's environmental soldiers are on to climate change. Talks have resumed as the two countries join forces to fight this global enemy. Iko Artaleza Quinola on Oceania at a Glance.
After the long disturbance of COVID-19 pandemic, the annual dialogue on climate change between Papua New Guinea and Australia commences in person at Hilton, Port Moresby. The dialogue aims to advance priority issues and showcase achievement under the bilateral partnership of the two countries. Special Climate Change Envoy Mr. Ruel Yamuna and Climate Change and Development Authority Acting Managing Director William Lakain led the Papua New Guinea representatives. Australian Ambassador for Climate Change, Ms. Christine Tille, heads the Australian delegates. Among the key priorities include our advancing Papua New Guinea-Australia climate change action plans for the next 5 years, climate finance, carbon market participation, international climate partnership, and among others. The dialogue ends with 2 agreement signings, the statement outcome, and the joint action plan.
Papua New Guinea is part of the Pacific, and as we all know, the Pacific is one of the regions most affected by the impacts of climate change. PNG has a strong reliance on rain-fed subsistence agriculture in rural areas, and changes in weather patterns will absolutely impact food systems here. Coastal and atoll communities will also be impacted by sea level rise and more frequent storms. That's why in July 2022, Australia joined Pacific leaders in declaring that the Pacific is facing a climate emergency, underscoring the urgency to scale up ambition, global ambition, and implementation of actions to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. And in PNG this year, we're working closely with the government here to design a long-term program to strengthen PNG's systems to help it access a greater share of international climate finance from both governments and the private sector.
This partnership demonstrates the commitment for a long-term program to battle climate change threats and impact. Eco Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Before we let you go, here's our photo of the week. This is one of the breathtaking rock formations at the Vasquez Rocks Natural Area and Nature Center in Sierra Pelona, California. The park is popular for its hiking, picnicking, and equestrian areas. It has been used in many hit movies, television shows, and commercials. Thank you, Sheila Perez, for this photo. Thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories or topics you want us to share with you, just comment below. View, like, share our other shows. City Limits with Alan Basiliaje. Connected with Dr. David. Take a seat and join us with Anna Cui. Late Date with Mike Hudson and friends. Plus, Journey Stories of Filipinos Abroad with Kathleen Cruz. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at EagleNewsLive. I am Jeff Sanidad. We live in extraordinary times. Stay happy and healthy, everyone.